on February the 3rd at 2 p.m. and talking about the full moon in Cancer that's happening on February 5th. It's also called Magha Purnima, which is an important full moon in Hindu or Indian, cosmology, mythology. Magha Purnima is also a very important time because the moon is full and in its own sign of Cancer. And in the month of Magha, it's usually there. And so again, and it's in Aslesha Nakshatra, which is related to the serpent entwining and coiling around. You can see this graphic. A few other things, that Jupiter from Pisces is aspecting this full moon in Cancer. So it's also quite benevolent and auspicious in that context, because of course Jupiter is the great guru, Brihaspati, and he's really conferring great blessings at this time. And between now and as we move up to this full moon in Cancer, it's a great time to really count your blessings, bring Guru's teachings into your heart, really feel the great blessings of Guru and teachings and teachers in your life. If you don't think you have gurus, that's simply not true. You're listening to certain teachers and certain teachings, and they're giving you hope and inspiration and purpose. And so now is a great time to really feel that, notice that, and bring it into your heart. This is why Jupiter or Guru is exalted. His highest place is in the sign of Cancer, where our teachings come into our heart and lead to great devotion. So these are all very important, but there's some tricky aspects to it because Aslesha Nakshatra is related to the serpent entwining and encircling and getting wrapped up and tangled up in something, which we'll talk about. But as you can see at the bottom here, it says devotion, Guru's grace, empathy, and compassion. Feel the gratitude for the wisdom, teachings, and teachers. You're an embodiment of that pure love and wisdom. So that's your nature. And when we have these full moons, we feel them in contrast to where the sun is. And at this time, the sun is in the sign of Capricorn, and it's also there. I believe Mercury's moved into Capricorn. It's not quite yet. But the sun is in Capricorn, so we're feeling very solid and established in our, in our routines, in our structures, all the structures in life, all of the, systems that we've put in place. So we could feel it's quite practical. It can even be a little fearful or worried. So you might be feeling these things these days, worried about money or what's happening, or how do you apply and put into practice all of the teachings and things in your life. So Capricorn, there's a bit of stress and pressure, and again, even a sense of worry, perhaps even a sense of dread at times. And so to harmonize that, this full moon in Cancer comes to reflect back and say, no, you're loved and cared for. Your home is here on earth as well. You've incarnated and embodied this wisdom. And so before I get into that much further, I also wanted to let you know that we're still very early in 2023, and there's the opportunity for you to also really get a great overview of 2023 and this like a forecast and assessments of your sign.
Get the 2023 Vedic astrology forecast for your zodiac sign or for all 12 zodiac signs. In it, I analyzed the 11 most important shifts we'll all be facing in 2023. I analyzed these based on your sign, that would be your Vedic rising sign. In January, we have the big retrograde cycle of Mercury. Then in the middle of January, Saturn makes a huge shift into Aquarius for more than 2 years. Then, by the time we hit the spring, Jupiter moves into Aries, and we also have eclipses in Aries and a lot more, including Jupiter-Rahu conjunction. In the summer, Mars in Leo, along with Venus and Mercury retrograde cycles, show some major transformations for us all. At the end of of the year, the lunar nodes change signs and we have eclipses and a lot more. So again, learn about what all of this means for you in 2023, or get all 12 forecasts so you can know what this means for your loved ones as well.
So yeah, if you do want to know, these forecasts are incredibly popular. My2023VedicAstrology.com. You can register for that. I wanted to talk about this story of Vamana avatar. Vamana, you see in Indian thinking, especially as it relates to Lord Vishnu, who is the god of this world that we're incarnated into. There are these 9 avatars. Lord Vishnu took form as 9 different avatars, and they're connected to the planets in Vedic astrology, the grahas. And the Vamana avatar is the one related to Jupiter. This is a great website, excuse me, sorry, called Hinduism for Kids. Hindu Jagruti. I'll drop the link in there in a minute. But the story of Vamana avatar, I'm just going to read through. It doesn't take that long, but you'll see why the connection to Lord Vishnu and the connection to Jupiter that I just talked about is very important. So Vamana avatar starts with Mahabali, the Asura king. Mahabali was the grandson of Prahlada, the son of Virochana. Don't worry so much about this. After the churning of the ocean, the gods became immortal and powerful. Indra's army defeated Daityaraj Bali and his army of Asuras and Daityas, which are gods. One day, Daityaraj Bali went to meet Sri Shukracharya and asked him, "Acharya, please show me a way to gain back all my powers and my kingdom." Hearing Bali's words, Acharya replied, "You must perform Maha-Abhishek Vishwajit Yagya to get back your powers." These are ceremonies. So Bali agreed to do the Yagya under the supervision of Shukracharya, who is actually related to Venus. After the Yagya, Bali received a golden chariot pulled by 4 horses that ran at the speed of the wind. He also got a quiver with numerous arrows, a flag post with the lion's head, and celestial armor. Along with these things, Shukracharya, who is actually also Venus, also related to Venus, gave him a garland of ever-blooming flowers and a conch shell whose battle cry was thunderous. Then Bali went to battle against Indra, who was the king of the gods. This time, Daityaraj Bali won the battle, and Indra fled from the battlefield. And Indra was the king of the gods, which included the grahas, the planets, and all of that. Bali once again asked Shukracharya's guidance to maintain his victorious position. Shukracharya said, "If you keep performing yagas, you can live a fearless and powerful life. You should also give alms to poor and to the Brahmins." So Bala readily agreed to do so. Meanwhile, Indra approached Acharya Brihaspati, who is Jupiter in this, or he's the deity related to Jupiter, to learn a way to gain back the gods' powers. So again, remember, Indra was the king of the gods, and he lost the kingdom to this Mahabali. So Acharya Brihaspati, Acharya means teacher, asked Indra to seek Lord Vishnu's help. Okay, so Indra started to do penance so to please Lord Vishnu. Maharishi Kashyap's wife Aditi, who was Indra's mother, saw her son in trouble and went to Lord Vishnu for help. Lord Vishnu said, "I will help you, Devmata, or Divine Mother. I will be born as your son in the near future. And then kill Bali." And so it happened that Aditi gave birth to a boy. She named him Vamana. So again, remember, Brihaspati, who is actually related to Jupiter. Again, I'm bringing this astrological component in because it shows a deeper relationship between the planets and also how astrology is central to all of these stories, whether you know it or not. So Brihaspati went and appealed to Aditi, who gave birth to an incarnation of Vishnu, which is related to Jupiter, and she named him Vamana. Now look at what happens. One day, Vamana went to Mahabali, this king, posed as a Brahmin, and went to the spot where Shukracharya, who is Venus, who is a deity related to Venus. Brihaspati and Shukracharya are deities that are related to Venus and Jupiter and Daityaraj Bali. And that they were performing this yagya. Yagya is a ceremony to please the gods. Bali welcomed the Brahmin boy and said, "How can I help you, young Brahmin?" The Brahmin said, I've heard a lot about you and that you give alms to Brahmins. I don't want wealth or luxuries. I just need all the land I can cover with my 3 steps. So again, Vamana was like a dwarf. He was like a little dwarf. Now you're saying Jupiter, how could Jupiter be like a dwarf? Watch and see what happened. So again, Vamana is an incarnation of Vishnu in the form of this dwarf. Okay. So again, all the planets also have Vishnu avatars, is what it's called. So he's the avatar of Jupiter through Lord Vishnu, because Lord Vishnu is the governor of this whole universe. So in order for this divine wisdom to come into this world, it has to go through Lord Vishnu, because everything goes through Lord Vishnu, including you. Okay. So Jupiter incarnated on this earth came through as this Vamana, this person who appeared as a dwarf, okay, and a Brahmin dwarf. So all the people who were present there were surprised to hear the request of the Brahmin boy. The Asuras laughed at the boy's request. Daityaraj Bali agreed to grant him what he wanted. So what he said is, all you need to give me, because usually they go and ask for these gigantic boons. He said, all I want is the land I can cover with 3 steps. I'm going to take 3 steps, and I just want that much land. So he was a dwarf. So Mahabali said, sure, I'll give you that. Suddenly, to everyone's surprise, the young Brahmin boy started growing in size. He started to grow. Soon, he was larger than the planet Earth itself. He took a large step and put it on Earth and claimed it and said, now the Earth is mine, right? So he tricked him, because Mahabali thought he was giving a boon to this little dwarf who said, all I want is how much real estate I can cover with 3 steps. Sure, okay. So then he grew, and his first step claimed the whole earth. Now the earth is mine. The second step he put on Amravati, which was under Bali's control, said, now Amravati is mine. Amravati is like the rest of earth and heaven, right? Heaven was what you would call Amravati, or the heavens, the universe. Sorry. So now Amravati, so now both the earth and the heavens were under the Brahmin boy's possession. Then he said, Bali, where should I keep my 3rd step? Earth and heaven are already mine. Now there's no place left. Shukracharya warned Bali. He said, be careful, Bali. I'm very sure this Brahmin is not an ordinary boy. He is surely Vamana, Lord Vishnu himself. Don't let him take the 3rd step, or you will have to lose everything you have. But Bali said, Acharya, I have given my word. I can't go back from it. The Suryas and the Daityas heard this and stepped forward to attack Vamana, but they could not harm him at all. Bali then addressed Vamana and said, as nothing else is left, you may keep your 3rd step on my head. So the 3rd step went on Vamana's head. It didn't crush his head. It just humbled him. So hearing Bali's words, Lord Vishnu appeared in his true form and said, I bless you, Bali. From now on, you will rule Patak Lok forever. And thus Bali went back to Patak Lok, which is the realm of the gods that he came from. Indra and the other gods retained Amravati due to Lord Vishnu's Vamana avatar. So it's a very interesting story, because Bali was not, and it's often a tricky one, because in many of the other stories of the Vishnu avatars, the avatars are defeating like demons who are killing everybody and whatnot. This isn't what Mahabali did. He was actually very much in accordance with doing good. But what had happened is the cosmic order, the righteousness, the realm of the gods and the devas got blurry and got distorted and got destroyed. This is what Jupiter is about. This is the point. Jupiter is about maintaining that righteousness and that cosmic order. And the cosmic order was disrupted by Mahabali. And so Jupiter incarnated as Vamana, the Vishnu avatar related to Vamana is Jupiter, who came and again grew as the large Brahmin, because he was a Brahmin boy disguised as, or he was Lord Vishnu disguised as a Brahmin dwarf who got the boon and then restored dharma and restored righteousness, which is Jupiter's place. This is what Jupiter is here to do, to maintain this order so that the Brahmin tradition is honored, so that teachers and students understand where you get good teachings from, which is a big problem in our world now. You've heard me talk about one of the biggest problems is we don't have this righteousness where there's good teachings. Everybody's a teacher. As soon as they take one class, they're ready to teach the world, right? And again, that's a disruption, and even what you would call like a violation of that Brahmin tradition where, when someone has a powerful Jupiter, and in fact, these times right now that I'm talking about with this chart where you see Jupiter aspecting the moon, and this is Jupiter bringing his influence so that proper teachings are adhered to, not just anything. And when Jupiter is powerful, let's say in someone's chart, they understand the difference between good teachings that are aligned with dharma and actual wisdom, and corrupt teachings that are confused, that are confusing. And by the way, to say corrupt, it doesn't mean that people are corrupt. It's not such a denigrating term. It doesn't mean people are intentionally corrupting teachings, but they just might not know. They might be doing like what I said. Take a couple classes and then think that qualifies them to be great teachers. And again, we live in a world now where those things are even worse. They're especially someone who is a bit older who remembers the time like let's say before even the internet or even the last 10 years where authorities were recognized because they had written books or they had done this or they had done that. And you recognize, oh, this person has really learned this thing. Now, especially because of Instagram and internet and whatnot, the people we're listening to and the teachings we're listening to could be just determined by the fact that, this guy's cute or this girl's hot or this or that. We're so confused by appearances and propaganda, and we're so easily confused now in this world. We've lost this connection to dharma and actual wisdom. And so this aspect of Jupiter, who is in Pisces still, very elevated, and bringing authentic wisdom as he's in Pisces, aspecting the moon in Cancer in its own sign, highly elevated. And the connection to Lord Vishnu is that the sun is in Shravana, ruled by Lord Vishnu. So the sun, as it's going through Capricorn, especially in the nakshatra of Shravana, is in that field, which the sun is where the power is coming from. The power of consciousness and the light of consciousness, the light of intention and will, is in the nakshatra ruled by Lord Vishnu. So it's a powerful time to manifest, which is what Capricorn is about. When I explained the sun in Capricorn at the beginning, we can also feel the pressure to try to manifest because we might be afraid of losing or afraid of the future or what have you, because we're too attached to the physical body, the physical world. But the more subtle realms is in Capricorn. The real thing to accomplish and to create is our true self through silence, stillness, peace, meditation. And that's really what's coming in here now. These very elaborate and beautiful stories are to refer back to something that's actually quite simple. And right now, the simple power of solitude, stillness, introspection is really what's there. And this full moon in Cancer is really bringing together a lot of these fruitful possibilities. And that story of Vamana, I thought, would be very important to hear, that it could really maybe help you understand this from this little dwarf who doesn't look like he's got much. Think of this as like your ego. Think of it this way. These stories are not disposable. They're always universal. That dwarf, almost it looks like a laughing, it was almost like a laughing stock in front of the great Mahabali and Shukracharya, this little dwarf. Hey, all I want is how much land I can cover with 3 steps. And he's like, okay, I'll give you that. You come before me, I can grant you great boons. I could give you diamonds and all kinds of stuff. And you're asking for how much land you can cover with 3 steps. Okay. And yet, again, it's like just the simplest, humblest request can actually lead to us growing and being and literally becoming one with the whole cosmos. This is the power of those teachings. And this is why Jupiter, who his actuating deity, or the deity that's connected to Jupiter, is Brihaspati, who is the priest of the gods, the one that kept order in this regard. And Shukracharya is related to Venus. And it shows a deeper struggle between Venus and Jupiter, which I'm not going to go into too much here, but there are several stories where Shukracharya and Brihaspati, which are also Venus and Jupiter, they're not necessarily in conflict or in struggle, because as you saw at the end, Shukracharya was like, hey, just do what you should do here. Because they're both immortals and both connected and plugged into the highest, because Shukracharya, or Venus, also has a Vishnu avatar called Parasurama, who is the boy with the axe. There's also an emanation on a higher level where Jupiter and Venus, Shukracharya and Brihaspati, are not at war or in conflict with each other, but it's the same story that's played out in our lives between desires, which is Venus, and transcendence, which is Jupiter. So again, I could talk about the story forever, which I'm not, but I want you to understand there's so much richness in these stories. So this aspect of Jupiter onto this full moon is very poignant. And in fact, we'll be feeling that aspect even more so the day before, as the moon is going through Pushya for most of the Purnima day. Jupiter will also be aspecting as it goes through, especially Pushya. And that's a very powerful place. So the nakshatra is Aslesha, which is the entwiner. And this is where we get entwined and entangled and stuck and lost often in things of this world. Now, Aslesha is said to be one of the more difficult nakshatras. You shouldn't just see it as difficult or bad. It's difficult when we get wrapped up or tangled up in our desires for this world, our desires to possess something of this world. When we get stuck in our desires and we get tangled up in it, then that serpent energy of Aslesha becomes quite poisonous and toxic and can suck us and sort of pull us down the drain like a whirlpool, like turbulent water spinning in a circle. Think of, Aslesha is like an entwiner, like a serpent, think of a serpent coiling up, and also think of water coiling up like a whirlpool, like circling the drain and going down the drain. This is the possibility of Aslesha. But you can also look at Aslesha as like a caduceus, like the symbol of medicine, where you have the serpent wrapped around, or of the kundalini, where the serpent energy is taking you, instead of down the drain, down the toilet, it's taking you down into the heart, into the depths of the consciousness and psyche. But what's the difference? How can you tell what it's going to do? Which one? Very easily. And you go back to the structures of Vedic astrology. Cancer, this sign of Cancer, is a sattvic sign. The moon is a sattvic planet, which is related to devotion, not desire. Like I said, I'll say it again, because people hear words and they don't really hear them because it sounds like everything else you've heard. When we get wrapped up and tangled up in desire, then it can suck us down the drain. When we get wrapped up in devotion, then it takes us straight to the heart, to the depths of the heart, the transcendent, universal, immortal depths of the heart. It's the difference between, let's say, a mother's love and getting tangled up and entwined in that devotion, or getting tangled up and entwined in some romantic relationship where our heart is dependent on that. Think of the difference, right? Or not just a devotion to a child, but let's say devotion to guru. Again, this is where Jupiter is exalted. You should understand that the exaltation points show something about the planet. The reason Jupiter is exalted in Cancer is because it shows that our teachings we should be devoted to these teachings. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't have discrimination and question. It doesn't mean blind faith. It means devoted. Devotion to our teachings and our gurus. So, in fact, rather than going to a guru asking for a boon, which even that story of Vamana shows this, Shukracharya, which is related to Venus, has more to do with worldly desires. And in a deeper sense, Shukracharya could have easily been conspiring with Vishnu to trick Mahabali and his desires and his desire to be the, powerful king in order to restore Dharma as well. Because again, Shukracharya and Venus are related to worldly desires. Not that those things are bad, but in fact, those worldly desires of Venus are exalted in the sign of Pisces. So you can see there's also a great connection between Jupiter and Venus. Again, I could go off on this stuff forever, and I'm not going to, but because I don't have the time. But understand that getting entwined and entangled and enmeshed in things that are pure love, not what you get, but what you give, is the highest good. And especially for really connecting to the heart and unraveling the emotional stress and fear and worry of Cancer. Because Cancer is also where we're emotional. And usually we're emotional, and it's a stress and a struggle because our emotions are connected to external things. So we need to return that emotional power back to the source, to that Capricorn source of time, transcendence, stillness, peace, and harmonize these two apparent opposites. They're opposite each other just psychologically, but they refer back to the same core principle of stillness and peace. That's what we want in Capricorn. We just want to be peaceful and still. That's what we want in Cancer. Think of the stillness and peace of a mother's love for the child and how much joy and beauty is in that. By the way, also the love we have for our pets and others that we care for. So these are very powerful structures for this full moon in Cancer. Very powerful, as I say, not just symbols, but things that are awakening now. And this isn't just me. I'm not predicting this might happen. This is what's happening. You should understand that astrology is not just these archetypes of things. Something might happen. This is the energy that's happening. Understand it and know it and align with it. Align with it. And that includes the energy of Shravana, which is mantra, sound, listening, hearing the truth. Right now, you're hearing this truth. And it's not to glorify my ego. It's to glorify these teachings. They're transcendent. So take these things I'm saying. I'm going to drop the link to that Vamana story and understand the purity of these teachings and the opportunity for you. And the reason why you suffer in life is because you don't have good teachings. You believe something. You have plenty of beliefs and you really believe them and you're devoted to them. But are they real? Are they actually authentic? Are they good teachings? Are they really evolving your consciousness? Or do they just keep you stuck in the same kind of stress? And again, that includes things like your political figures you follow, your online influencers, or whatever the philosophies are that you know are true, that give your life some direction. This is where I'm going based on this thing and that thing. Is it really worth your life? Because your life is tick-tocking away. It's funny. I just realized the whole thing about TikTok, tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. That's right. The clock is ticking and talking. And again, Saturn, these Capricorn, all this Saturn energy with Saturn now in Aquarius, with this Capricorn energy it's all related to Saturn, and the clock is ticking. So connect to the heart and deep, powerful, inspiring teachings. And I hope this was helpful for you to hear today. For a limited time, I'm offering 10 hours of masterclasses, Yoga and Vedic Astrology, Quantum Vedic Astrology, and Spiritual Astrology Masterclass. These are 3 great courses that will really help you a lot. Now, in case you don't know who I am, I taught the Astroved certification course, Dattatreya Shiva Baba, in 2010. Ravi Shankar published my book in 2018,
I've been around for decades. I've been teaching these great classes, and if you go to VedicAstrologyEssentials.com, you can get this 90% off discount of these 3 great classes, more than 10 hours, guaranteed value. You can check this out. These 3 classes will give you all the necessary tools to begin to learn Vedic astrology. Please find me on YouTube at Sam Jeppy, Vedic Astrology Teacher. On there since 2007, thousands of hours of classes. Also on Facebook at Astrology Teacher, tons of articles updated regularly. And I'm on Instagram at Vedic Astrology 108, ongoing updates and interaction.